Hey there, fellow gardeners. Welcome back to Ruth Haven Grounds. Today I'm sharing something that completely transformed my gardening life, and honestly, I wish I'd discovered it years ago when I was spending countless hours on my hands and knees pulling weeds until my back ached and my knees screamed for mercy. You know what's fascinating? The Amish have been growing abundant weed-free gardens for generations without modern chemicals, fancy tools, or back-breaking tilling. And the best part? Their method is so brilliantly simple that once you understand the principle behind it, you'll wonder why conventional gardening advice has us working so much harder than necessary. I'm talking about a method that doesn't just temporarily clear weeds, but actually prevents them from growing in the first place. No more weekend warrior sessions attacking your garden beds. No more losing the battle against persistent weeds that seem to multiply overnight. Just abundant vegetables, happy soil, and so much more time to actually enjoy your garden. Let me show you exactly how this works. Before we dive into the solution, let's talk about why you've been fighting a losing battle against weeds. Traditional gardening wisdom tells us to till our soil each season, right? Turn it over, break it up, make it fluffy. Sounds logical, but here's what's actually happening beneath the surface. You know, every square foot of your garden soil actually contains thousands, sometimes even tens of thousands, of dormant weed seeds. These seeds can stay viable for decades, just sort of waiting for their moment. When you till your garden, you're basically setting an alarm clock for all those sleeping seeds. By bringing them up to the surface where sunlight can hit them, you trigger germination, create the perfect disturbed soil conditions they absolutely love. And, well, you've just invited an army of weeds to your garden party. The Amish understood something crucial that, honestly, a lot of modern gardening has lost along the way. The very best way to deal with weeds is to never wake them up in the first place. Their approach works with nature's systems, instead of constantly fighting against them. So, here's where the magic really happens, and it's almost too simple. The Amish secret centers around deep mulch layering. Not that thin, decorative mulch you might be used to. I'm talking about substantial layers that form an impenetrable barrier against weeds, while at the same time, building your soil into something truly extraordinary. Start with your existing garden bed, weeds and all. Yes, you read that right. You don't need to clear it first. Lay down sheets of cardboard directly over everything, overlapping the edges by at least 6 inches. I use boxes from appliance stores or furniture deliveries, removing any tape or plastic. This cardboard layer becomes your weed barrier, blocking light completely, while still allowing water and air to pass through. Now here's where you build your growing paradise. On top of that cardboard, add 4 to 6 inches of organic compost. This becomes your immediate planting medium. Then add another 4 to 6 inches of loose mulch material. I rotate between straw, wood chips, shredded leaves and grass clippings depending on what's available. The Amish often use straw because it's abundant in their farming communities, but you can use whatever organic material you have access to. This deep mulch system works on multiple levels simultaneously, and understanding each layer of protection helps you appreciate why it's so effective. First, the cardboard and deep mulch create a light barrier. Those dormant weed seeds in your soil never receive the sunlight signal they need to germinate. They just keep sleeping peacefully, while your vegetables thrive above them. So, here's the thing. Any weed seeds that blow in from neighboring areas land right on top of your mulch layer. When they try to germinate, their roots can't quite reach the soil below before they dry out and die. The few weeds that do manage to sprout are, incredibly easy to pull, because they're rooted in loose mulch rather than compacted soil. I'm talking about a gentle tug, rather than the wrestling match you're probably used to. Now, here's the beautiful part. The system actually improves over time. As your mulch materials break down, they're feeding your soil, increasing organic matter, and creating an environment where beneficial organisms thrive. The cardboard typically breaks down completely within one growing season. But by then, your soil structure has improved so dramatically that weeds struggle to compete with your vigorous vegetables. Let me walk you through setting this up in your own garden because timing and technique really matter. The absolute best time to establish these beds is in fall. I know, You're probably reading this and thinking about this season's garden, but hear me out. Fall preparation means your beds are perfect when spring planting time arrives. In fall, the cardboard and mulch have all winter to begin breaking down. Earthworms and beneficial microorganisms move up into this rich layer, creating incredible soil structure. Come spring, you simply pull back the mulch, plant directly into the compost layer, and then tuck the mulch back around your plants like a blanket. But what if you're setting this up during the growing season? You absolutely can. The technique shifts slightly. After laying your cardboard and compost, you'll add your mulch and then plant immediately. For transplants, create a small hole through the layers and tuck your seedling in. For seeds, clear a narrow row through to the compost layer, plant your seeds, and keep that row clear until seedlings are established, then gradually bring the mulch back around them. Here's what your gardening maintenance looks like with this system, and you're going to love this. Every few weeks, take a walk through your garden and add fresh mulch anywhere it's gotten thin. I keep a wheelbarrow of mulch material ready near my garden for easy top-ups. This takes maybe 15 minutes for a decent-sized garden. When you harvest vegetables, it's actually best to leave the roots in the ground. Just cut the plant at soil level, you know. Those roots will decompose right where they are, feeding your soil and making these little channels for water and air. And, right away, you should plant something new in that spot or toss on some extra mulch to keep the area covered. Between seasons, you'll want to keep adding layers, so after you pull out spent tomato or cucumber plants in the fall, just add another layer of compost and mulch. Each season, your soil gets richer, your beds get higher, and more productive. And honestly, weeds become these rare visitors, instead of, permanent residents. What the Amish really understand, and it's kind of inspiring, is that gardening isn't just about this season's harvest. They're actually building soil that will feed their grandchildren. This deep mulch method, over time, transforms soil structure in ways that tilling just can't match. After, 3 to 5 years of maintaining these beds, you'll have soil that looks and feels completely different from where you started. It becomes dark, crumbly, and alive with beneficial organisms. It holds moisture during those dry spells but drains perfectly during heavy rains. Plant roots penetrate easily, and your vegetables grow with a vigor that makes neighbors ask what your secret is. Every garden has unique challenges, and this system adapts beautifully. If you're working with heavy clay soil, you might need thicker initial layers, perhaps 8 inches of compost instead of 4. If you have extremely aggressive perennial weeds like bindweed or quack grass, consider using 2 layers of cardboard or adding newspaper layers between the cardboard sheets. For raised beds, this method works phenomenally. You're essentially creating the same environment but with defined edges. For in-ground gardens, consider adding simple borders to keep your mulch contained. I've used logs, stones, or simple wooden boards. If you're dealing with limited space, this system actually works better in small gardens than large ones. You need less total mulch material, and the intensive planting style possible with rich, weed-free soil means you can grow more food in less space. Friends, I've been gardening with this method for several years now, and I can honestly say I spend about 1/10 the time on weed management that I used to. My back doesn't hurt, my knees are happy, and my harvests have never been better. The Amish figured this out generations ago, and it's high time the rest of us caught on. If this approach resonates with you and you're ready to transform your gardening experience, I'd love to hear about your journey. Subscribe to Ruth Haven Grounds so you don't miss future videos where I'll be sharing more time-tested gardening wisdom that actually works. Share this article with your fellow gardeners who are tired of endless weeding. Together, let's build gardens that work with nature instead of against it. Your back will thank you, your soil will thank you, and your vegetables will absolutely thrive. Happy gardening.